Hello everyone and welcome to my corner of the world. Today I have a card to share with you which is a fun fold and also has a technique. And this is my fun fold, so it's kind of got the two sides here. And then my technique is using an inked embossing folder. And you can see that effect just there. Okay, so let's make a start. Now I have chosen to use some of the new products from the mini that is about to come out, which is the January to May 2023 mini. And I'm going to be using this basket weave embossing folder to create the effect on my card. So I am going to start with a piece of basic wide cardstock, and this is just 1/4 of a sheet, so it measures 5.5 by 4.25, and I'm going to be inking up my embossing folder. Now, as you know, there are two sides to an embossing folder, and one sort of goes in and the other comes out. So here with this effect here, you can see that the raised part is white, but then the depressed part is actually the inked part. Now, depending on which side you put your ink will depend on the effect that you're going to get. So if I show you this piece here, this is the same as the piece on my card, and you can see that the raised bits are the white bits, and in the dibbles there's ink. On this piece, then I put the ink on the other side of the embossing folder, so that then the raised piece here is white, and the downside piece is ink. But you can see that it's the opposite side of the embossing folder. So when I looked at it this way, it didn't really have enough depth of color for me. So that's when I decided I would use the other side and ink that one up instead. So that's what we're going to do. So for this one, I'm going to be using this side, and you can see that this piece here, I'm not sure how well you can see, but this is the raised bit that's going to pick the ink up, and then the down bit is going to be the other side, which won't pick the ink up. I hope I'm making sense there. It'll probably make more sense when I get it colored up. Now I'm going to use Pool Party, and I'll explain in a while why that is. Now, you can put the ink on like this and just smooth it on, but I found I had a better result if I used one of these brayers. It's one that's been in my stash that Stampin' Up used to sell many years ago, but I believe they're still available if you go into one of the big box craft stores. So I'm just adding plenty of ink to my brayer, and then I'm just going to roll up and down on this, make sure I get enough ink on the sides. So you'll want to go ahead and make sure that you work on a piece of paper, something that you don't mind getting ink just in case it goes over the edge, just like that. Okay, so now I believe I've got plenty of ink, and I'm going to put my piece of card on the uninked side, and I'm going to try and make sure that it's sort of straight and level, so that, because this has got a very sort of straight and level pattern to it. And then I'm going to bring that down, and then I'm going to pop it through my cut and emboss machine. So for this, I'm going to need my #1 platform. And I also found that with my embossing machine, I needed an extra shim. Every single one is slightly different, and I just needed a bit more pressure. Then I'm going to put in my embossing folder hinge first, and then you're going to want to put plate #4, which is the embossing plate, on top of that, and crank it through. Now, if you've got one of these particular machines, the grey embossing plate, the #4 plate, you would have got with your machine. If you have one of the big shots, which Stampin' Up used to sell, then you'll find that the plates that come with that are not quite thick enough, but that you can in fact buy this plate, the #4 plate, separately, and it will work in your big shot. Right, so let's see what we've got. Okay, so there's our piece, and it hasn't got quite enough colour at the moment for me, so I'm going to pop that back down, and I'm going to add a bit more colour. Now, with this big design embossing folder, it's easy to line up the piece of card to put more, so that you can have it all lined up to the right place. So I'm just going to do that again, run it through, get that out the way so as I don't get any unnecessary ink on myself. And then we're going to pop that back down, and we're going to give it another go through like that. Not too fast, give the ink a chance to transfer onto the card. And this should give us, oh, I can see straight away, I think this is a much better result. Oh yes, look at that. So there's my piece. Now, this can simply be washed by running it under some water, and then just either using a cloth to dry it or leaving it to dry overnight, and then it'll be perfect. Now, my piece of card, as I say, was 1/4 of a sheet, and it's going to be a bit too big for my project, so I want to cut it down slightly, and I'm going to cut it down to 5 1/8 by 3 7/8. So I'm going to go 5 1/8 there. And then on the other side, 3 7/8. And 3 7/8 will take me to there. There we go. So that's my piece. And I'm going to now cut my decorative paper. Now, this is another new product from the new mini, and it's called By the Bay, and it's a specialty paper, and it comes in 6 by 6, and you'll see that it's kind of got a seaside theme. We've got shells and crabs and birds and fish and things like that there. And on each piece, one side is printed and the other side has got a foiled design on it. So they're really very, very pretty. And I decided to use this design here, which has got the sort of pinks, and it's got pool party in as well. And this piece is also cut 5 1/8 and 3 7/8. And you can see that I've cut it corner to corner, and that allows me to have a piece on the other side of my card here. Now, in order for me to have a pair, I need to make sure that I cut this piece the opposite direction to this piece. So this is going top right to bottom left. So this piece I need to cut top left to bottom right. So I'm just going to use my trimmer, and I'm just going to hover my two opposite corners over the cutting groove. Now, with this embossed paper, particularly with the ink on it, it's softened, and so it can actually, the corner can actually snag up when you put the cutting tool. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to lift it slightly so that it's over my card, and I'm going to bring it down and then up. And now you can see that I have got matched pairs like that. So I can actually get 2 cards out of this, out of each piece. So I'm going to set them aside for a moment, and then I've got my base cards. Now, these are 2 pieces of cardstock that are 11 by 4 1/4, and I've just scored it at 5 1/2 in the middle. And what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to put my fold in slightly, and on one piece I'm going to cut down from the fold to this corner here. So again, I'm going to line up just like I did before, and that the fold is over the cutting groove, and here the corner is over the cutting groove as well. So I'm going to bring that down, and hopefully we'll be able to see that on the camera. So, and we're going to bring that and that's not over, that's moved, little beastie. There we go. And so there's my one piece, and then the other piece I've got to make sure that I cut the other way. So this has to go from this corner, let's just double check. It has to go from this corner down to this corner. So we're going to pop that in again, lining up the fold. And if you can't really see that fold, just put a tiny little mark there, and that way it's a lot easier to see. So we're going to pop that over the cutting groove there and there. We're going to take that bit off there. So that's pretty much all our cutting at this time. What we're going to do now is we're going to attach these 2 pieces together. And for that, I'm going to use tear and tape. And the reason I decided to use this is that this card has got quite a few layers on it. So it's got quite a weight to hold on to. And I would just be a bit concerned that Stampin' Seal, even the Stampin' Seal Plus might not be quite strong enough for this particular weight. Right, so I'm going to smooth all my pieces down, and then I'm just going to take a few inches of the backing on each side. You may have seen me do this before. Now, when I come to put my two pieces of card together, by having these pieces, not having too much adhesive exposed, I'm less likely to catch myself and it's sticking down before I'm ready for it to stick down. So I'm just lining up my corners and my edges, and I should be good. Yeah, let's see there. And then gently pull the backing tape away. 1, 2, 3, and then number 4 is going to be this side. And then I'm just going to go in with my bone folder just to make sure that I've got a good tight fold. And I'm just going to do this one because this one is actually folding over two pieces of card. So it goes like that. All right, so now I'm going to stick my pieces down. So this one is going to be in the opposite direction to the other one. And I'm just going to use some liquid adhesive for this. Oh, this is a pretty side. I was so intent on looking at that side that I didn't really see what was on the other side. That's very pretty. Oh, well, I'll have to find an opportunity to use that one. Okay, so we just have to get another adhesive out. Looks like that one is not ready to work for me just yet. Okay, so when I cut this piece, I told you it was going to be 5 1/8 times 3 7/8, which seemed a bit of a wild measurement at the time, but by doing it that way, it means that I've got a lovely border around my piece of decorative paper. So with this embossed piece, it's got lots of nooks and crannies in there. So you have to make sure we put plenty of adhesive on there so it doesn't start to lift. And there we've got that side as well. I'm just going to give that a good old stroke down. And I guess it doesn't matter whether you have that side to there or this side to there, whichever works for you is fine. So I've got my other pieces for my other card, which I'll probably make later on. Now here is my inside piece. So this is 5 1/4 by 4, and I had a little bit of paper left over when I trimmed, so I'm going to use that and to decorate my piece of card. Now I've been throwing various dimensions at you, but you don't need to try and remember or try and desperately make some notes here, because if you look below this video, you'll see that there is a link to my blog, and if you click on that, it will take you right to the post that describes this particular post, this particular video and card, and all the measurements and supplies will be there, as well as link to my online store where you'll be able to order any of the goodies. Now, we need a little bit of stamping. We can't make a card without a bit of stamping. And I decided I would use a stamp set from the annual catalogue, which is Friends Are Like Seashells. And I thought it tied in really nicely with the paper and the colour coordination. So all I've done is taken the little dotty stamp that's in here, and I'm just going to run some dots along the bottom here. And while I'm at it, I think I'm going to do some dots on an envelope as well. Like, let's put some like that. And I've done that in Pool Party ink. And now I'm going to use one of the little shells that's from the stamp set, which I'm just going to do in Coastal Cabana. So Pool Party, Coastal Cabana, all sorts of sea sounding or ocean sounding names, all sort of coming together. So this piece I'm just going to stick inside. And so my little piece of decorative paper will show above there and give it a little bit of extra interest. Now my greeting is from the same stamp set, and I am going to cut a piece of basic white with the, let me think what this one's called, handmade tag punch. And then I chose the greeting that says, friends are like seashells, you collect them along the way. What a lovely thought that is. Now I want it at an angle, so I'm going to layer this down. And because this is a clear stamp, a photopolymer one, it means I can line this up on my pre-cut label. If I was using a rubber stamp, I would have stamped it first and then cut it, and then I would have known that it was it would have been centre there. But it makes it a bit easier with these clear stamps or photopolymer. And I'm just going to put some little dotty bits here because there's a bit too much white on that label for me. And then just a couple there, and maybe just a couple there. Right, so we are on the final leg of our card. So I had some card left over from those where I cut out my my corners, so I'm just going to use that, and I'm using the decorative circle punch here. I love it, the fact that it's kind of gotten a nice sort of wiggly outline. It's lovely and soft. And then a bit of adhesive on there. I think I can get rid of that piece now. And just line it up. And now I'm going to pop it on my card. Now it needs to go on the flap, one of the flaps. So I'm going to keep this one to the front. And so I need to make sure that I just stick this to this layer. So to make sure I do that, I'm going to attach some mini dimensionals to the flap like that. And then I'm going to attach one under this part here. And that way I know that all of my adhesive is away from this part and this part of the card, because we don't want it there because it won't open. All right, so we're going to pop that down, and I guess however high you want it to be, but I'm gonna have it kind of there, I think. So there's two more things. So I've used a new embossing folder, and I've used new paper, and I'm going to use some new ribbon, and this is grosgrain ribbon, and this is Pool Party, and this is lovely. You can see it ties gorgeous bows. Now I have videos on my channel on how I tie my bows, and I will put a link to those so that you can see how they work. And I'm going to pop my bow sort of here, I think. And then my last product that I'm going to use from the catalogue are these. These are flat pearls, and they've got adhesive on the back, and they're really just absolutely gorgeous and in perfect keeping with the sort of sea coast beach type theme that we've got going on in today's card. So I'm just going to use one, and just to bring that beautiful, soft, serene glow to my card. So there we are, a technique with a fun fold using some of the new products that will be available for purchase in January, in just about 2 weeks' time. Well, I do hope you've enjoyed this card and the technique. I certainly have enjoyed bringing them to you. If you have enjoyed it, perhaps you'll go ahead and give me a thumbs up. If you don't already subscribe, maybe you just hit the subscription button on my channel. It doesn't cost you anything. It just means that each time I post a video, you'll get notified and you'll be able to keep up with my adventures. And if you've got any comments, I'd love to read them. So that's it for today. Thank you very much for your time, and I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Bye-bye for now.